Hi, Jordan from the quality team. What we've been doing over the last couple of weeks is we've been delivering sessions on what excellent TLA looks like. And basically we've been showing what those sessions should look like in relation to activities and how a lesson should be structured. One of the slides within that presentation is the lesson roadmap, and it gives a bit of an overview of how to structure a consistently relevant session for learners. So what we're wanting to ensure is that it's just a bit of a process in place for you in order to get that. So you might have missed out on the excellent TLA sessions, but ultimately we want you to ensure that you've got this information at hand, so you're fully aware of the key elements that should be in a R&N group session. So firstly, what we'd expect to see is the tutor positively greeting learners at the door, so they're ready, the classroom's ready. And again, just a little gentle challenge on non-compliance in relation to elements that are not being completed, and just a reminder of rules and expectations throughout. Once they've greeted, we're expecting to see do now activities, which are basically any activities for when the learners arrive. Could be anything in relation to, it could be the topic, could be something that's a little bit of fun, just anything to get them going so that they know when they've walked into that classroom, the lesson's getting ready to take place and learning will take place within that session as well. So it's just something to think about on there. Once that's been completed, we'd expect to see learning intentions, so your aims and objectives. One of the things that we're suggesting that you might want to do is something called the big question, which relates into around the topic or theme that you're delivering as part of that session that day. And again, making sure how learners can see how this session fits into the wider learning of the subject area and the broader topic, and potentially knowledge, skills and behaviours within that section. Now the bits in yellow, these elements, although as you can see on the roadmap, they're set in a particular way. For those experienced tutors and those confident tutors, you can interchange these where they sit, depending on your needs and what you think best fits for that learning, for that topic or theme, for that session. So yeah, all it's basically doing is the bits in yellow is what we'd expect to see within that classroom. So for example, we've got teacher modeling, where the tutor provides clear and directive instructions and explains the new learning logically and sequenced in a way so it's holistic, in order to ensure that learners can move on to that next step of guided practice. So if it's something that's absolutely brand new to a learner and they've never seen it before, then teacher modeling is essential on that aspect. Again, within the modeling elements of this could be videos, could be diagrams, could be demonstrations, but ultimately to support understanding of the new content and what comes before learning those new elements. Then we move on to guided practice, which is about providing supportive practice using a scaffolded method in order to ensure that once learners get certain elements of the steps, you can move that scaffolding away and move that support away. But ultimately gives the learners the opportunity to try out what you've actually modelled. Then we'd move on to active participation, where all the scaffolding's been removed and learners are actively taking part in those new knowledge, skills and behaviours more independently. Again, one thing that we would suggest is don't remove the scaffolding until you're confident that learners can achieve some success without any additional support. Then from there, you might move on to responsive assessment, which is about checking learners' progress, understanding through probing questions, observation, testing, peer observations, or peer assessments, self-assessments and live marking as well. And then from a feedback perspective, you could give individual or whole group feedback. And again, moving on from there, we're looking at the independent tasks. So setting an independent task that allow learners to apply that new knowledge and skill to a vocationally relevant area or subject content in their own time. But ultimately, this what should do is it should give the learners a sense of agency to manage their own progress and to do things outside the classroom, to take ownership of their own learning. And that's the rationale that we have the independent tasking. And then we've got the plenary, which is the opportunity to reflect on the learning that's taken place throughout that session, ultimately draw upon next steps, actions, progress being made from point A to point B. What is it particular that they might need to look at further? And this can be done in multiple ways, such as short quizzes, verbal discussions, exit tickets, and either a summary of what has been learned and what they need to do next time on that. And interwoven throughout this session should be formative assessment throughout. So the meet and greet at the beginning of the session, morning, how are you doing? You okay? Gets an indication of how that learner's thinking, feeling before they actually start the session. And again, moving throughout, formative assessments vital in order to ensure that they can move on to the next phases and the next steps of their learning. Now, as I've said before, is those that are confident, I've just gone through that overview of that, but you could move that around as you wanted. So you might do the session, you might do the first 3 elements, which is your greet, you do now, and your learning aims, but I might actually move responsive assessment straight after that, because depending on how I've done my do now task, I might need to see what prior learning that they've got in relation to this particular topic or theme. I might flip it the other way, where I might give the learners active participation to try something without any support or guidance, and then put it back in, so then do teacher modeling and then move into guided practice. It's just dependent on as and where it best fits for your theme or topic. So ultimately, like we said, is we are not saying that you must stick to this format. If you find it easier to do it, then great, that's fine. But if you want to be more creative with this, that's not an issue with that whatsoever. Just making sure that you incorporate all those key elements within a session, because that's what we're saying, and that's what research says what should be in a good or great session. Now, all the elements, when you get access to this into the Google Classroom, what you should have is that everything will be underlined on the actual sheet, because they're all linked to how-to activities. So if you go to teacher modeling, for example, you'll be able to click on there, and it will give advice, guidance, tips, new ideas on how to model any new learning or new activities of that particular topic. So that's just a bit of an overview. If you are wanting any more advice and guidance, please contact the quality team. You can get in contact with us either through the quality individuals directly through their emails or phone, or you can contact the quality improvement website and we'll get back into contact with you. But hopefully that's provided some clear guidance in relation to what's expected within a session.